Okay, let's see who pops in. Give me a sec here. Hey, Bill.
Bill. Sorry I missed your thing, Bill, yesterday. I was too cranky to think about anything. And then I realized afterwards that it would have been the best thing. Just would have been the best thing for an exhausted, cranky guy.
The Energy Collective group showed up strong. We
It's
even
good.
June made it out even last night, so I was like, nice.
Awesome.
Hey Corey, how do you pronounce from Quebec? Is it Laure or is it Lore? Do you know how to pronounce his name?
Yeah, it's like a French R. Loch.
Laure, like Laure, like
Like Loch.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Lore, yeah.
Corey, I'm doing this week I'm doing Great Vows Sesshin online, Great Vows Zen Monastery. And it's been yeah, it's been a good combo. I've been feeling very weak, like tender and slow, but I've been doing their mornings and afternoons, and so it's been like 4 or 5 hours of sitting and
Uh-huh.
1 or 2 hours of standing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Who's leading that?
Miyoyu, one of Chosen and Hogan Roshi's students, and there's three women, and they're doing a gratitude session where all the food is donated, and apparently they didn't get as many donations this year, and some people are scared there won't be enough food, but
Right.
but
Right. Wow. Cool. Cool. Well, yeah, let's dive into it. Um, Anything people want to bring up about practice, etc. Um, Challenges, inspirations. Yeah.
it's been helpful to have the group. I'm feeling like the energy, there's a lot less dread and some more excitement, and um there's still something that feels a little mysterious about like letting it happen or softening or receiving, but yeah, I'm glad to be in good company.
Yeah, it's a
It's
wonderful group.
sorry. Um, about the group. Whether it's a group, whether it's together or I have to say, over the years, I've been increasingly amazed what we can do on Zoom. Like I just had such low initial expectations that anything could be conveyed. But it's turned out to not be true. Like I find that it's quite strong. One of the things that I've been noticing, and we noticed this, I've been noticing it in the Seiki class. Like Seiki traditionally was an individual kind of affair. Like you had the bench, you sat on it, you did your movement, you attended to your taiso. There might have been some kind of engagement with like a practitioner to some degree, so maybe two, but it was never meant as a kind of globally shared thing. And then I looked at my experience, say, with the Bushmen in Southern Africa. That's a whole community, right? That's coming out to share this work, like as a community. You don't like that's the order of organization. That it's not a solo affair. The energetic is through the wiring of the community as a whole. That's where it takes place. More and more, I'm just sold on the broader holding of the group and the community as to where this, just like the right order of a horse isn't the individual, it's the herd, right? Like you don't have horses separate from the herds. If you have a horse, they always say like you got to get another horse. They don't live alone. At best you got to get another cow or a llama or something. Like it's cruel to have a horse by itself. And I think really in this work, I'm not against moments of isolation and doing things independently and solo work. I just think that the most powerful aspect of this work is together. I've just really come to really believe that. I love standing on my own, but standing together is just always more powerful. There's something there. And so I've just really very quickly coming to change my position on how I see this. So I don't know, Rosie, if that sort of speaks a little bit to the support that you've been talking about, but I just think to me, it's becoming less about an option and more about a kind of essentiality.
There's been an aspect of these practices for me that I, at least as I'm currently engaging in them, that I appreciate. I hope is going to be the case, is that there's this aspect of going so deeply inside as to almost eventually turn yourself inside out, so that it does become less of an individual internal focus practice and ultimately leads to something that is going to be more just unifying and helps me tie into and connect with the rest of everything that's in everyone that's happening all around me. That's the hope anyway.
Yeah, one more little more on that too. Like from Tandon, for example, like what is the Tandon of a horse herd? Is it the sum of all their animals' individual bellies and centers, or does the herd itself have a Tandon that it organizes around? My friend and my teacher, Bradford Keeney, used to say, like, in the Kalahari, there was no Kundalini accidents. Like they would talk, he had read the book like Gopi Krishna and, about like how things could go grossly wrong with like a Kundalini awakening or nurturing. And he said, that doesn't happen in the Kalahari because the order of circuitry isn't the individual. It's not one person. Like that, those energetics are circulated through a broader system called the community and the ecology as a whole. It's it's not a 120, it's a 240 volt or a higher volt system or a higher amperage system. So the individual in working through their things cycles it through that broader organization and holding that broader field. And that in itself is kind of protective. Like what might be an overwhelming opening to us is not overwhelming when it's held in this broader capacity of the community, that they can circulate that and move it. And maybe there's something just more compassionate about that rather than, we like throwing ourselves into the fire and hope we come out the other side, after the, that's not to say that they're not huge openings and huge events, but taking it away from crisis. I wonder if there's a wisdom there that we've lost, that the hunter-gatherer intrinsically had, in those very tight organizations.
Yeah. I wonder if that part, if it's possible to convey that over Zoom. Like I had that experience last week where I was so sure I was having a nervous breakdown or something. It was so intense what was happening in my system. But I ended up going over to my friend's house and like they're practitioners, but they weren't really doing anything in particular. They were just breathing and some of them were playing video games. And all of a sudden, my inner experience had a new context. And I was pulled into conversation that felt meaningful. And I do wonder, like I definitely hear what you're saying, and I wonder if some of that is possible over Zoom or if it's possible to hold each other when something big is happening. Um, or for like my breath, if it's strong, my practice, if it's strong to support you. That I think is also true, but I'm less sure about how that works across distance. And but Corey does his work long distance. I think it can still work.
Yeah, I jumped into that, and I'm convinced now. I've drowned in that, and I'm convinced now. So, but I understand people wondering for sure.
Maybe that's just the deepening of faith. Like, oh, we're held. Oh, we're not alone. And we're supporting each other across time and space.
Yeah. Um, I did this source point training, and it's it's sort of like energetic rolfing, and and it's you have to suspend your disbelief to do it. So you're working with someone, and you're working with these energetic points, and some of us, we kind of like, well, I'll do it, and then I'll kind of do that stuff, and then I'll make sure I'm doing real work. Then I'll really work, and I'll make sure it's good. And I can kind of
What
like
are
do
you talking about there?
not you, me, but then you know, I could kind of tell though, oh, I don't quite have faith in this. I don't quite have faith in this, and I don't quite believe that you can really do this work. And so, um, over time, I think what that did for me was it helped some of the rubber hit the road for what I knew already. I knew that, that again, space and time, that we could move through that. And but actually doing that kind of work, it gave my system the ability to put the rubber on the road with that. And then actually doing the distance sessions, and seeing that, boy, they really do work, especially for a certain species. They really do work, and so that helped me to yeah, to bring that into my life, and to put some things on the ground that didn't really have faith in exactly. I knew, but I wasn't quite able to kind of walk around with it and live it. So I found that really helpful, and I've also found, you know through Zoom, doing it over and over, seeing how we're in this field together, and it's very powerful. And through teaching, seeing, oh, the field really is supportive to everyone, and I totally. I'm convinced now that people can work like this over Zoom, and some teachers say you can't, but that's not my experience. Yeah, yeah.
I have had one source point session, so I know what you're at least.
Who was that
Well,
with? Who was that with?
it was with Thea, who was the cook
Sure.
for the retreat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I'm curious how everyone's doing and how the intensive's working on them, especially for people who've done more than one before. Like, does it change your daily experience?
Yeah, I guess I could answer you. It's just, I mean, I think that my practice is in a little bit of a shambles right now, at least has been for the last month or two, and it's really nice to get back to it. And it feels very different. Everything feels very different to me right now. And I've got a lot going on in my life as well, and trying to keep a lot of balls in the air. And I don't really know why. Like, so it's nice to, because I don't have to. Like, no one's making me do anything right now, and yet still, I'm making life difficult for myself by trying to fucking become, you know. Anyway, tangent. But it's nice to back out, just like see that, like see what that feels like from the bottom of the well. Like, why, how does this all feel? And so that's sort of what's going on with me this time. Um, and yeah, it just feels good to be able to like almost feel like I can see into myself with a lot of sensitivity. It almost feels like seeing into myself in reverse in a way, like I'm being seen by myself rather than looking at myself. I guess is how I might put it in words. Like I got really I got really anxious about something yesterday, and I just felt myself falling into this sort of like internal being seen, almost like it was like two sides of the same pill. Like there was anxiety over here. It wasn't, they were so interlinked. Like the feelings were so interlinked between the anxiety and the being seen um by something deep in myself that I couldn't do anything but experience both of them as the same thing. And I don't know how to like make sense of that or like put it in another way, but it just feels like something, you know, something deep and interesting is going on, something really subtle is going on, something that I really want to be here for is going on.
Well, I feel like I kind of just live my life in the intensive. I don't, I'm not really, I don't really think about when an intensive is starting or not so much. But what changes, what's interesting is like the filtering in of like new people coming in. And that's always interesting. You get new energy, you get, uh, weird people. I like weird people, so you get some new weird personalities coming in, and yeah, and it adds power, you know. Um, I think for some of us who kind of have been here for a long time and are doing it, it's sort of like this is just how we live a little bit, you know. And then there's like all this awesome change around it at different times that kind of gives it something new and special, and then it kind of settles down, and that's sort of my experience of it.
Thing I'm interested in with the intensive. I'm not really in the. I'm the least intensive guy here, but I'm always interested where in the intensive you'll see it, as June was saying, like new faces showing up, practicing really honestly, having interesting report and experience. Maybe they come to a few intensive, like you see these faces who will show up. I'm just wondering where so many people go in between intensives because often we don't really see them in the same way again to the next intensive. So I always wonder about the in between times, like the everyday, I'm just always curious about that, like because I'm always so impressed by how intensively they do the intensive. That's not me. I'm lazy. But then the intensity is over, and then they're not around. Like, well, like what about the continuity in between? And I always wonder where and it's not every face. I mean, some do manage to stay present to it, but I'm just wondering where the people go in between sometimes. Um, I don't know if any of us can have an answer to it, but that interest to me is, yeah, like when it's not pitched as intense. How do we keep a kind of quiet flow and momentum moving, and that continuity throughout months and years. I don't know, maybe Corey, you have a reflection on that too. I mean, you see it so centrally because you're at the center of the organization of it all.
I don't really know. I'm just living. I'm just like meeting. I don't understand being in the intensive or not, but we kind of do this false thing where we're doing this intensive now, and then we're not doing it. I don't know. It doesn't have any meaning, you know. But people show up and they it gives them an excuse to kind of think we're doing something else or getting excited about something, and or thinking it's really intense when it's not really. It's not like it's that intense, you know. Um, except that it's a time when maybe people start to go, "Oh, what's my experience like? What am I really doing here?" And then they come to a few extra classes and they see, "Oh, we're doing the intensive. That means something." But actually, it's just an excuse to have people show up and look a little bit more, be a little more intimate with what's happening, and have. I love it when the new people come in. That's really fun. Um, and then they go off, and I don't know, and then they come back, and I'm doing the intensive, um, and that's always like a little bit. I don't know, I don't understand, but um, yeah, in terms of the classes, I do like to kind of I like to kind of turn up the heat a little bit in the classes, and there is something great about when people have like decided we're gonna put ourselves into something. I feel like I have a little more permission um, um, to be really straightforward and creative with the practices, and that's fun, rather than when people are just visiting. I can't be quite as um, I don't have maybe um, as much permission to be quite as wild in there and throwing it at them, which is what I wanted, which is what I love. So the creative aspect of doing that. So no, I don't know. It's fun. But yeah, a lot of us we did the immersions and then we're like, well, we should just keep going. I don't. And so that's what a lot of us have done. We're just in this all the time, and there's something good about that too. I think a lot of us, you know, hardcore Zen people or hardcore meditators, people go and they'll go to O session and they'll do their O session and then they'll leave and there'll be this big gap, and I find that to be unfortunate. That there's this artificial concentrated time and then there's this non-concentrated time when either I lose it or I somehow keep it a little bit, or whatever, all those things that happen. My favorite time in the monastery was the co-session, which is when we were working during the day and then sitting a lot. And I found that I made a lot of leaps in that time when I saw, oh, how am I doing this in my daily life? And doing the O session over and over and having it be like sitting forever every day, I found that to be really deeply powerful. But there was something about the creativity of taking it into my experience in my life that I found to be really important. And so yeah, the whole division of doing the O session versus non, or the immersion versus non, they're kind of artificial in a way.
When you're speaking, there's kind of an analogy thought that when in the sweat lodges, let's say the doors are down and we're pouring lots of water and the rocks are red and it's hard, it's hot, but people are spirited, like they're in their prayer, they're in their song, it's like really elevated or they're struggling. And then the minute they open up the door, although they haven't physically run out of the sweat lodge, you see that their attention all runs out the door to the light. Like we were holding it, we were in it, we were feeling it, and then the moment that there's a moment of escape, their minds all run out the door. And then it all just collapses, and you're like, why did you all just run out the door even though you're all still sitting here in the circle? Like, you just kind of escaped. And I think I wonder if there's an analogy here in our practice, like after on every level, like we stand for an hour, do we then just sort of escape into life, or we do an intensive for a month, and do we just escape? How do we not escape and just let it all collapse the minute the clock says it's done or the calendar says it's done?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, totally. And I think other people should talk here, but I just want to say something really quick about that. I love it. And you know, this happens with people in their practices. They're doing practice and then they're like, I'm so exhausted wishing I could be doing something else. Like this is a real common thing. I'm going to really give it to it. And then God, I can't now I'll go do what I want to do. That'll be so great. I can't wait to do that. Um, and this is just a really big deal in practice. Like I'm sitting, I'm focusing. Oh, my focus gets exhausted, and then now I can finally just let everything happen. I can settle, and then I can let my everything just be there. And what happens with people who begin to change with the practice is they see like, and we used to talk about this with the Mukoan quite a bit. Is people are doing the Mukoan, they're doing this mu, they're doing this mu, and then they're like, oh God, okay, now I can take a break. I gotta take a break and do something else. And and there's got to be a point when they go, oh, like I can't. There's nowhere to go. Like where I am is where the mu is. Like where I am is where practice is. And like me, like, and that's a leap. That's an internal. There's a maturing that has to happen usually with that. It's not just like an idea. There's a maturing where they go, oh, actually, where I am right now, this is where I am, and that's actually that's the mu. That's the mu. It's not somewhere else, and my practice isn't like it's not somewhere else that I'm doing it or that I can take a break and go somewhere else. And until people see that, until they go like, actually, when I escape, that's not better. Like it's not better at all. It's worse. And actually, being in the present with the present, that's where we get energy. That's where all the energy is. So we think like, oh, that's exhausting, but actually as we mature with it, it's like, oh, the present actually fills us up. It fills us up. And that people, when they start to make that transition, then these divisions start to not make as much sense anymore. And I think it's interesting, Michael, like you're taking this break, but I think you're probably, you take a little break, or maybe you're redefining it, however I get it. But like maybe I think your system, it's doing this. It has to do this in some way. There's something happening, and so taking away the whatever the shoulds with it and seeing, oh, it's still happening. I think that's actually really healthy for us to do. To see like, oh, I took away the training wheels and I saw the process still was happening and it had to
Yeah.
be, it's important.
Yeah. I feel like I needed, I mean, I was getting overwhelmed, and I don't know if that's the right word, because I'm really trying to like figure out, like look into what I mean by overwhelm. Like I don't want to use that word almost anymore, because it's just like in my mind, overwhelm represents this wall, right? Like I can't go past. And I know that like I'm creating that wall, you know? And so like it's not a wall. It's just like it's like a different texture of tissue, maybe. It's not like, it has thickness, it has characteristics, why don't I go look at that? But I sort of lose my mind when I get close to it. Okay, well then, just like, uh. Anyway, um, it is. I don't. I don't know. I can't say anything like except that I'm coming back feeling different than when I left. And then when I left, I felt like, oh my God, I'm in for this really intensely productive time of practice that I didn't do. Like I left sort of at a peak. Like I don't even know why. Like it was like everything in my life just became really interesting, partly because I was so locked in to like everything that was going on. It's like get to year in practice, like just like everything locks me in, and then like I don't shift back. Maybe I mean maybe I'm learning. I'm learning this stuff, and here I am. I feel like okay, the waves came back. Um, I had my little shutdown now. I'm coming back and like everything feels different. And I'm remembering these little islands of things that I was feeling before from another perspective. And they're like, oh, not really, not really, not really. What's going on? And in the middle of that, I just feel like there's something just like it's not even exciting. Like it's just like so precious that I can't even be excited by it. Like if that makes sense. Like it's just too interesting to be excited by it that's going on. And like I don't want to give in to that sort of excitement. I just want to be with it. And it's sort of nice.
Anybody else want to chime in about what I was just, thank you, Michael. Anybody else want to chime in about what I was just talking about? Somebody who's probably done a lot of practice. You know what I mean? Or we can leap to something else. Dozo.
I mean, I can say my teacher after session, after retreat, would always say, like, keep the momentum going. And he would also say no gaps, which I'm sure comes from Hirata Roshi. But I never really knew how to do that. I never really knew, like, everything else, like Michael was saying, became more interesting. Um,
Everything what? Everything.
like everything else became more interesting than my breath or my Tanten as I came out of retreat. But now I feel like I'm knowing who I am more. And so I'm like last year was coming out of a really challenging emotional time, a deep depression, and I couldn't sit. I was so there was so much movement in my body. So I ended up running for an hour every morning, and that was like, and I still do that. Like I have faith in that practice, and I'm no longer trying to be, I think there's still like grief. Like, wouldn't it be great if I was the practitioner who could sit all day and like, I don't know, there's some grief there, but also a lot of um understanding of like my own rhythms and who I am as a person and a practitioner and like, yeah, I'm gonna need to sing and I'm gonna need to run and maybe one day that will change or not. I don't, I'm okay with it not.
Yeah, I do think that there's mm, there's a way where um practice kind of like is always for people kind of like reaching out to something on some level, and it goes really really deep. Like for me, you know, even just the attachment to be doing Zen practice was reaching out, and it was so fine. It's like this fine thread that was like in my heart of who I was. That I couldn't even, I mean, I couldn't find that, you know. And when I got appendicitis, and I was in the middle of this kind of solo retreat kind of thing for several weeks, and it got cut off because of that. And that really transformed my relationship to practice then. Um, and part of it, I mean, I went through a lot with that, but part of it was with practice. Um, I couldn't really, like, practice really couldn't uh, exist anymore. And, you know, like I just couldn't, like, I couldn't construct that, or my life didn't make sense anymore. It was like going backwards. And there was something like even simpler that I had to do, which was just to just be. Um and it took me a really, really long time to kind of um be able to just be, and even touch some of these practices like ZZ, or sitting, honestly. Um because it was so deeply ingrained in me that, like, I was that it was connected to something in myself and who I was. Um and um I mean, it's still like that in a certain way. I don't really think that I practice Zen anymore. I don't think about it that way. Um but there's this, like, very, very slow process that I went through of, like, okay, I can sit for a little bit, and then something changed, and now I've on some really deep level, I've reached out, and it's not real anymore, and I'm practicing, and it's fucking me up. I don't know why. But it's not right. Um, and then I would stop, and then I would, you know, another time I would sit, and okay, I sat for a while, and somehow, you know, I was kind of doing the same thing that I would have done before, but somehow it didn't become that. Like, it could still be real. I don't know why. Um, and um, and there was no theory to it. There's no technique that, like, allowed me to stay there, even though I tried. You know, there was still the part of me that was like, okay, like, this kind of allowed me to not be practicing or something and still do it. And, you know, you kind of try and circumvent it all over and over again, and it never works. But just very slowly over time, it started to just be more and more natural with it. Um, and yeah, I think that's really at the heart of this stuff. And it does, where I was going with that was I had somewhere I was going with that, which was that it does change your idea of or it does change this experience, because I had that for sure. Like, oh man, I just practiced a ton. Now I can stop. You know, now I can take a break or something. And that, you know, on some level that creeps in. But it changes that when you have to get really, really naked with it. And it's like, oh, I don't even want to practice ever. Like, not even, I don't want to ever practice. I mean, that was really crazy to experience, you know, for someone who'd been sitting for, you know, a long time. I don't want to ever practice. And then that really changed. That, like, completely, you know, flips the direction that your practice is going. Um, and it does change. Um, yeah, it makes it that it's not a tug of war between like what you want to be doing and what you think you should be doing or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
A very big quick thing for me is I think one of the most valuable things I've gotten from practice. Oh, can you hear me? There's some background noise in here. I apologize. One of the big things I've gotten from it lately is just the realization that I can be somebody who doesn't practice for a day, for 2 days, a week. It's not going to kill me. It's like an old friend that's there when I'm ready for it to get back to it.
I guess I don't, I think I'm in a little bit of a, I, I, I don't really know that practices exists. Like, I think this is really where we're going with this. And of course we do these practices, okay? But, but I'm existing here in space right now, and that's interesting. And I'm feeling into that, and uh, we have to grasp our own process in this. We have to see what's real. We have to touch it. And a lot of times, what will happen is people will confront this issue, and then they'll try to make themselves into something else. I'm this kind of person, or I'm that kind of person. I don't want to confront what's happening, so no, I'm this kind of person, or I'm that kind of person. And in what we have to do, what usually the practice drives us to do, is that we become totally helpless in having to actually face exactly what's happening, and when we do that, um, the idea of practice or not practice, it kind of stops making any sense. And sometimes people get really sick. That's where that happens. That's my case, where, like, just existing in space there without any ability to do anything else, and there it is, and I have to be with that, because if I do anything, I start to clog up. So the practices, of course, they're there, and they often will, if we're lucky, if we're honest enough, they'll drive us into this place of you're in this corner that you can't escape, and then you have to face yourself, and then from there you start to, like a baby, you start to you change, and then like a baby you start to try to move around, and I just start to add everything on again, or I don't do anything, and that doesn't feel right either. So then you're just reborn in this process, and from not reaching out, not going into my modes, and I think that's a lot of what this drives us into. This is what I'm trying to get people to get a sense of. So anyway, what a beautiful conversation. I love it. I'd love to hear from people who haven't spoken, if they want to, or if they haven't spoken much. I thought I saw Jane reaching for her microphone. I thought I saw that.
There's something here for me about relationality. I can't quite find it and put it into words, but sometimes in this group, I like to throw out a little energy of something and see if somebody can pick it up, like volleyball. But um, I have a really hard time not being over impacted by other people, even like energetically. And when I'm really deep in practice or whatever, it's hard to find a line between
staying in that and staying in myself without over isolating. Even Q&As at the end of practice hour can be really hard for me because I'm so raw and opened up and in my process, and then I'm flooded by other people's. So the instinct is to close and stay by myself and stay in that, but there's something unworkable there too. Or to only like expose myself to the handful of people where that doesn't happen. Anyway, that's as much as I have of the thread of this now, if anybody has any thoughts.
I know what you mean, for sure.
Yeah, I'm like worthless for like an hour after practice, after these like classes right now. I feel like takes me like an hour to be able to do anything, kind of. I don't know, maybe this is I'm like trying to imagine I talking about practice, I don't even I kind of even don't know what we're talking about a lot of the time. I'm trying to imagine like as someone who does Zen or whatever to not want to do that, and I don't know, maybe this is what you mean. Maybe this is what you mean, June, that like doing it is too much. For me, I think right now there's something where I just wake up and sit every day no matter what no matter like whatever else is happening, I just get up and do it. And I feel like it's the only time that I can actually just be with what I actually am. It's like no bullshit, just like, oh, this is actually it. And then I feel like the rest of the day is like me trying to be honest with that and do that in a way that doesn't just feel like I'm bullshitting or like faking it or lying or being whatever. So in that moment in the beginning, like if I'm sitting, then it's like that's it. There's no, I mean, of course I'm sure there is actually layers on it, but I'm actually just sitting there in the thing. And then the rest of the time I'm just trying to, yeah, not fuck it up. But then I think that at some point, like, I don't know how to get out of that. I don't know what, there's nothing else that I can do in my life that I'm not in it. It's not like I can't get out of it. I can't like go running and get out of it. I can't like, like where is there to go? Where is there that we're not? I don't know. Beats me.
Yeah, love it. Hear what you mean. Hear what you say, Jane. Though um, yeah, I know what you mean, and I think it's beautiful what you're talking about. I know it's really hard, but um, I mean, I think being with people and being overwhelmed, being smeared, being whatever taken over, being there's something about that that's important, I think, and that that we're getting something out of that, and I think we're processing that, and it's important, and it'll change, and we do need. I think I have needed to be with that rather than just the people that I buy Bill. Rather than just the people that that doesn't happen with. So I've needed to be with that, and that's been important, and that's somehow that helps them, even in the midst of it being hard on me, and that mixing together that all that it's important, and it's transformative somehow, and it's hard, but I get it, and it's important somehow.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the way that you talk about kindergarten or something, or like, because it's been so many years of it, and like getting thrown around, and like just starting over, or not starting over, but just being in the, yeah, it's so frustrating, but it I do feel it changing slowly. I don't know, there is an interesting practice thing in there sometimes of like, okay, I can feel that it is changing gradually, but then some part of me, there's such a strong thing of like, but I just want to fucking like find it now so that this can stop. Like, I'm so tired of this. And there's something to play with there too of like, maybe there I can fall into a mindset of like, I just have to wait, I just have to wait. And then like, do I really?
I do wonder, Corey, maybe you got thoughts on this, but um, going through some of this process stuff in your practice on your own versus in a group. Like, to go back to the Zen stuff, like unless you're doing like a solo retreat or something, everything in Zen is like you're stuck with people. And you don't like and it's kind of crazy because it's like you're sitting and it's so internal, but it's kind of not at the same time. Like there are people around, you can hear them. When you get up, you got to deal with them. You got to, even if you're not talking, during meals, you're interacting with people, even if it's silent. And it's actually like constantly interacting in this way. But it's structured in a way where you also have the space to be going through that internal stuff. Um, and you know, the way that a lot of this stuff exists now is like we're doing it kind of a lot of it on our own, except for like, like I know a lot of Americans and people, they go once a week or a couple times a week to do like an hour sit or something, or yeah, like every few months they go do a session or something, and otherwise they're practicing alone, and that's very different. And I think it probably makes it harder to integrate some of this stuff with just on the bare level of like just being able to like tolerate being around others in the middle of it. Um,
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I think it's true. Yeah, I could. This is terrible, but I could recognize people's like farts right now that I lived with. Like if they fart, I know that's that person. Or just their mind. Like you know their mind. You can start to feel it. You know their mind. You know, um, And that's really important. I think it is. It's super relational. The practice is super, super, super relational. So I think that's a really good point. And even having like a doku session, we do these solo retreats. They can be super profound, but then you actually see often that like having like say in the monastery, you have these jobs, and that's where your practice really takes a leap. When you have the job, like, oh, I had this job, it was fucking terrible, and and then my practice took this big leap because it's relational, all of it's. So there's something interesting about that, and I find I find it there's something important about that. And then of course my fascination with being with the teacher and the relational aspect there, seeing how to feel them and them feeling me, and that whole interaction being really the tip top, the such a beautiful, the beautiful part of the practice. So anyway, it is, I think it's relational. So and that's what's hard, but that's where things really, yeah, that's where the rubber hits the road. Yeah. It's also really good to be around people who are really that you deeply admire and you deeply respect and you're inspired by, who see them doing really really normal things. I think that's really important too. Like like just being and being so earthy in their process and seeing how that's so beautiful, or just being with people um, and it helps our system to see, oh, it's it starts to digest. Seeing them being in normal aspects really helps the aspect to digest. um, so I don't know how we can work on that, but we should as a group.
More experimental living, it's like the Airbnbs, the retreats, but like, yeah, coming together for a week to live together, I think changes things.
Yeah, the retreats are great for sure. Yeah, they're different. The retreats, they're interesting in that way, especially ours in our Airbnbs. They're like it's interesting. It's really sweet what happens. But we could do more, and June talked about maybe having these little pods or something, right? June, this kind of like get together, the LA, or the whatever, it was like the East Coast kind of
Yeah,
deal.
I'm trying to get the LA pod to work here. We got Jane, trying to keep Joe here. He's trying to go back to England, but I think we got him. I think we got him booked. And Victor down in San Diego.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's a little spread out, so I gotta try and yeah. But
I'm noticing our times. I kind of got to write out. I got to go, but sorry. Rosie helped us remember that this was today. I wasn't on my calendar, so sorry about that. And thank you, Rosie. Um, but no, really, really good chat. Thank you. By the way, where are you, Adam? I don't get it. You're like in one of these? Where are you? Like a library or something?
No, I'm in a coffee shop. This is where I usually go to work in the mornings because I have a remote and gets me out of the house. Usually a good energy here, but sometimes it gets a little loud. So hopefully it wasn't too disruptive.
No. You had good coffee. What'd you have?
Great coffee. I had a single origin Honduras pour over today, or a Hondurover as I like to order it. So good stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody. Yeah, no, great to talk. Let's keep chewing on it, and yeah, no, what a beautiful group. Thanks so much. Let's talk soon. Okay, see you later.